This week on Morning Mika.
He died like a dog. He died like a coward.
Donald Trump equates dogs with terrorists, so it's no wonder his wannabe running mate would try and burnish her credentials by bragging about murdering a puppy in cold blood out of anger. Yes, you've probably heard about Kristi Noem, South Dakota's puppy-killing governor. We're going to talk about how her twisted admission speaks volumes about a political party where the cruelty is the point, right? Hillary Clinton may have said it best back in 2021. Don't vote for anyone you wouldn't trust with your dog. I'm Mika Brzezinski here with Simone Sanders Townsend, Huma Abedin, and Jen Psaki. Okay, guys, I have a confession. It's a mini confession that I want to make. I figured this might be the good place to make it. It's like a safe space, right?
Definitely. This is a safe space.
Can we talk?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to say it. I, too, have a dog that mauled a chicken, torturing it. In the deadly clutch of his jaw with the intent to kill, he crushed it. It was horrible. You guys, it was horrible. You don't know this about me, but my chickens, they were my friends. There's Donna. Isn't she beautiful? Gina. Look at Gina. And here's Pierre.
Oh.
He's so beautiful.
I like Pierre.
There's baby Bumba. Look at baby Bumba. I always thought it was so fun to greet them in the morning on the weekends. I would wake up and I would do like these weekly videos that I would send to my daughters. And every video would be like, hi, ladies. And then it would culminate when I find their eggs. It was kind of a way to connect with the girls, and I would send them to my girls in college. Here's the chicken videos. Here's one that went well.
Hello, ladies. How are we on this pretty Saturday morning? You guys look great.
However, on a specific morning, I'm going to say 5 years ago, everything was going fine, except this time I forgot to close the first, the second, and the third safety gate that I put in place to keep this guy, away from the chickens.
Oh, my God.
This is Hobson. Yes, he was a pup, but a really big puppers. And as you can see, he's got a really big mouth, massive, massive jaw with huge teeth. Anyhow, Hobson apparently followed me that morning, and then this happened.
And good morning, ladies. Do you like your grain this morning? Hi. Hi.
Let me tell you. Oh, my God, you guys.
Then?
I'm not going to show you the rest because that's just a tiny taste of it. Things got gruesome. Hobson got Donna in his mouth in a vicious, tight, ironclad clutch. Desperately trying to save her life, I pinned him down on the ground. I was screaming. I was trying to crank open his mouth. You can't get it open. He clenches it. And I was sticking my fingers down his throat, trying to get him to open his mouth. I grabbed his chin and his nose, and I was trying to pull them apart desperately to free poor Donna. It was bloody. And when I finally was able to pull his jaw apart just enough for Donna to slip out and hobble away, severely injured, he started going after her again, and he dragged me across the coop floor, and she had slipped into one of the egg-laying boxes where she was able to get cover while seriously injured. And I had to drag Hobson out of there, and then he started fighting me and biting at me. It was gruesome. By the time it was over, I was covered with sweat. I was hyperventilating. I sat back in the dirt, feathers, and blood and tried to regain my breath. I was worried about poor Donna. Meanwhile, Hobson bounded off as if he had just won the hot dog eating prize. No clue of the bloody scene he had created in my chicken house. Guys, I was so angry. My heart was beating so fast. Adrenaline was coursing through my veins, and I was simply furious. But I was furious at myself for putting Hobson in that position, because that's how he is with birds. It's instinctive. I was mad at me for leaving the gates open and for definitely ruining Donna's morning. She lived, but she has never looked or walked the same and never grew her feathers back. No, it's not good. She looks terrible. That's her
Poor
before.
Donna.
This is Donna in better days. Yeah. That's when she was pretty. You don't want to see the after.
Oh,
Anyhow,
my.
that's my confession. Thank you for letting me share.
No, poor Don. I'm going to think about Donna all day today now.
I know.
Mickey,
I
that
know.
was not on my bingo card this morning.
That wasn't, was it?
I was not prepared for this.
But let me explain why, because I tell you this story because I've actually been there in that kind of moment, just like the governor of South Dakota. Remember how angry she said she was? I never once, though, did I ever think about being so mad at Hobson for this. I certainly did not think of killing him. And even though poor Donna never got her looks back, I did not kill her for being ugly. And that is what makes Governor Kristi Noem's behavior all the more disturbing. Let me read from her book. As described in The Guardian, Noem took Cricket. This is a 14-month-old puppy on a pheasant hunt with older dogs, but the young pup ruined the hunt after chasing the birds and going out of her mind with excitement, like Hobson. Noem describes calling Cricket, then using an electronic collar to attempt to bring her under control. Nothing worked. On the way home, she stopped to walk, talked to a local family. That's when she escaped from the truck, sort of like the gates that were open, and Cricket, grabbed this family's chickens one at a time, crunching them to death with one bite, and then dropping the chicken to attack another. I believe that's what bird dogs do. I hated that dog, Noem writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog. At that moment, Noem says, I realized I had to put her down? It was not a pleasant job. No, she writes, but it had to be done? Really? Not to be outdone, she then went back for more. Noem had a goat that she described as nasty and mean. And Noem decided to kill the goat the same way she killed Cricket. But though she dragged him into a gravel pit, the goat jumped as she shot and therefore survived the wound. And Noem said she had to go back to her truck and then put him down. She, let it suffer for a bit. She murdered them both in a gravel pit, and she thought sharing that was a good thing. And for MAGA Republicans, maybe it is. Because, of course, as we've discussed here, the cruelty is the point. Noem thought she could get political bang for her buck, and now she's even doubling down on that on Fox News, saying, we're reading from her book wrong, when she wrote it that way. A lot of people are saying that Kristi Noem destroyed her chances of being Trump's top pick. I'm not so sure. I think Trump might like this. So, Jen Psaki, we'll start with you. Your thoughts, and will you still be my friend?
I mean, first of all, of course, Mika, you're an animal lover, including of chickens. That tells us a lot about your character.
Chickens
we
are the
know
best.
You love animals. Look, I think there's so many thoughts. First of all, the dog's name is Cricket, which I just, for some reason, that makes it even harsher.
It's like Lassie.
There's lots of things you can do if you don't want your dog. You can give it to another family. You can give it to a shelter. But the main point here is that the cruelty is the point, and she thinks this is a win. Now, this is the same person, I think it's important to remind people, who bragged, was so proud of the fact that her 2-year-old granddaughter had a gun. She talked about this at the NRA convention. But yeah, will this be a loss for her in Trump's eyes on the VP run? Hard to know, because we'd have to get into that man's mind. But it may not be, because you know what? She's a good-looking governor and she likes guns.
Yeah.
So that might be enough for him.
Especially with her new smile. Simone, can you justify this? I mean, or can it seems to be backfiring, but to Jen's point, I kind of think she still could get it.
I mean, it's clearly an issue because Kristi Noem continues to go out there and try to explain it away. She went on another news network and said, oh, the media is twisting my story. I had to choose between my family and an animal that was out of control, and I chose my children. That's crazy. She's gaslighting us because we got a hold of her words, what she told us, what she read, and she's been exposed as cruel. Like, what? Who? Cruel. Cruel. It's cruel, inhumane, and if that is how she treats the animals that she's supposed to care for, right? Just think about it. Like Kristi Noem's I guess, belief in, is she a pro-lifer? Is it pro-life for everybody except the goat and the dog? Like,
That's
what
right.
do we really believe?
What do we believe, Huma? You know, I was going to ask you if she could get redemption from this because she is being panned, and this has brought the right and the left together in some ways. People are upset, but I actually am still stuck on, I think Trump might think this is a good thing.
Well, you know, part of it is you start with, okay, you have 60 million households in this country who are pet lovers, and I mean, I'm still recovering from your story, and what sticks out to me, Mika, is that in that crisis, in that moment, with the choice and the decision that you jumped in and made to save your beloved animals, and by the way, everybody,
yes,
and for her to go in and say, promising these politically incorrect stories, by the way, she delivered on that. Yeah. I would say the only thing is, there's several months before the convention, so he has some time to select somebody, and so maybe there is some redemption. You never know. I actually think a real lesson we're learning here is we've lived with Donald Trump for all these years, and we know that a man like him can say extremely unhinged things and is either forgiven or laughed at or it's all accepted. Curious to see if a woman can do the same. I mean, I'm really interested in the gender lens here and whether this, you know, blows back differently.
I'm not sure I want this kind of equality, but I hear what you're saying. Kristi Noem is not the only Republican banking on cruelty and violent rhetoric to impress the Donald. GOP conference chair Elise Stefanik refers to January 6th insurrectionists as hostages. She went full in on the whole hostage thing. Senator Tom Cotton thinks protesters who block traffic should be thrown off bridges, or if they glue themselves to cars, drive off so their skin rips off. Kari Lake is telling supporters to grab a handgun before the November election. That's so cool, Kari. Trump supporters routinely call for civil war and denounce President Biden in the most sadistic terms. And one recent poll found that 28% of Republicans strongly agree that Americans may have to resort to violence in order to get the country back on track. I just can't even, Huma. I feel alarmed. I know that we're desensitized and we're not supposed to be surprised anymore, but I am. This is not the way this is not what a democracy looks like.
No, it's extremely alarming. I actually had not seen that number until you just said it, Mika. And we're living at a time when, you know, it's you have your one belief. We're not trained. We're not raising a generation of children who have empathy. By the way, let's go back to how we started the show. The number one thing that you have is empathy when you share that story. To think that we have to resort, that the frustration just leads to anger and violence, I mean, it's really, really very disturbing. We already have a massive problem with school shootings, with violence. It's just sort of, are we normalizing this kind of behavior for our children? And it's really, really unsettling.
Well, you know, Simone, it was like Colin Jost at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He was like, all these things are happening and it's tight. This race is tight. Let's talk about the possibilities of Trump's second term, which some recent interviews with Trump have been quite clear what it's going to look like.
Extremely clear. I think what we've heard from Donald Trump himself, from the people around him, from folks who are advising on what a second term would look like, it all sounds completely unhinged, but they are being extremely clear. Donald Trump has told us he'd be a dictator on day one. He is now saying that he doesn't believe that the election is going to be free and fair, parroting a number of the things he said in advance of the last election. He's talked about that, you know, people should, if the states decide that they want to jail women, criminalize women for seeking the health care they need, if that health care is an abortion, and doctors, he's not going to, you know, it's not about what he thinks. This is just what the states say, and we're just going to let the states do what they do. People should not only be concerned, they should know that there's something that they can do about this, and that is vote.
Jen.
I'm just going to add in, I mean, whenever people say none of this matters, here's the thing. Character matters. Empathy matters. Who people think of you as a human being, that matters. I mean, this is something my mother's taught me. All of our mothers have probably taught us since we were little kids. This is true of candidates, too. And, you know, what Colin Jost ended with on Saturday night was a whole riff about the humanity of Joe Biden and how his grandfather, who had just passed away and was a firefighter in Staten Island, a place where nobody votes for Democrats, supported Joe Biden because of his empathy and because of his humanity. That is who he is. You know, Simone and I, we all know him. Simone and I worked for him. And that is a contrast with Donald Trump and with the acolytes of Donald Trump who are trying to impress him by being cruel and mean.
Well, with so much talk about animal welfare on this week's episode, I wanted to end by giving a shout out to all of the organizations that are working hard to rescue and protect our dogs, cats, and other furry creatures that bring so much joy into our lives. That includes the Peace Ridge Sanctuary in Maine, which is home to nearly 500 rescued dogs, horses, and other farm animals, no matter what their challenges and injuries are. It's also where KC, my pet pig, lives. There she is. By the way, Pierre is with my best friend Eleanor. Also be sure to follow my co-hosts, Jen Psaki, Simone Sanders Townsend, and Huma Abedin on social media to hear the latest on what's going on in their lives and their shows. And by the way, here's Huma's family pet hamster, Fluffy, and Jen's pup, Greta, who recently passed away. I'm so sorry. And Simone, we need to work on getting you some pets. And you know what? I have a present for you guys right here. Now, look, this is going to be a little...
Are you getting us pigs?
Oh, wow. This is a week full of surprises.
Yes, I am. All right, here we go.
Oh.
Okay, you ready for this? Huma, Jen, and Simone. What do you guys think?
Oh, my
3
God.
chickens.
Oh, my God. They're so cute.
Aren't they cute?
They look so
Here.
fluffy.
Here, let me just help. Aren't they cute? Look at that.
They're so
I
cute.
love chickens. And this has been literally the weirdest day. But that's okay. So don't forget.
I
These are
want a
beautiful.
chicken,
Thank you,
which
Scooter.
I'm not sure how realistic that is.
I'm going to
in
lose
life.
one.
Fly away.
Here, take Jen. Jen is being bad. All right, you got Jen.
Come
I have
on,
Simone
Jen.
and
Pull
Huma.
it
They're
together.
much more well-behaved. Oh, my. Okay, so don't forget to follow Know Your Values social media pages to submit your questions, maybe pictures of your animals, to any one of us. We'll bring back our Ask Us Anything series next episode. No topic is off limits. And finally, the nominations deadline for Forbes and Know Your Values' 4th annual 50 over 50 U.S. list is fast approaching May 30th. So if you know a woman who's proven success has no age limit, we want to hear from you. Visit Forbes.com or Know Your Value for all the details and consider nominating yourself. That does it for Morning Mika. So here's the thing. I was going to say we're going to see you again soon on YouTube and Peacock and Chicken. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.